numbers and percentages. And this is a really common area of confusion. Obviously, I know that a lot of pre-law people aren't super into math. I'm personally not into math. That has never really been my thing. I've always been more of a humanities person. So these have been a little harder for me to personally get a grasp on. So that's why I slowed down for this one. And I covered a variety of different ways, this could play out. So let's say a number could be pretty high, but still be a low percentage. And that's not always obvious. We hear large numbers, we think big. Our brains evolutionarily weren't meant to be looking at percentages and graphs and charts and such. So 500 people could be a high percentage of people in a small town that has only 501. But if you're talking a big city, it's actually a relatively smaller percentage. So don't automatically assume that a big number will be a big percentage of the total. Then a small number could be a big percentage of a total. So 5 pizza pies would be a big percentage of what you're eating in a day or in a week. But it could be a low percentage if you're looking at it as a fraction of a pizzeria's daily sales. So a small number isn't always going to be a low percentage. It could actually be a big percentage. Everything is relative. Everything is context dependent. So when you see a high number or a low number in a stimulus, always think outside the box. Could a low number be a high percentage and vice versa? Lots of ways it could play out. And then we also have increases and decreases. So if the number of young people increases from 1,000 to 3,000, even though the number of young people has increased, it doesn't mean that the relative percentage of the population has increased, because we're not looking at the total pie, the total population of people in the town overall. It's possible that the town's population exploded across all demographics, across all ages, and maybe the percentage of old people increased even more. So an increase in the number of people doesn't mean an overall percentage increase in terms of them taking up a larger part of the pie. We need to know more about all the groups involved, not just one select specific group. And then same goes for decreases. The flip side of that, if we have the number of young people decreasing, it doesn't mean that they lost percentage overall. Maybe even if they decrease from 3,000 people to 1,000 people, they could actually become the majority of residents in the town. It all depends on what happens with the older people, that population, that demographic. If their population decreased even more, then the 1,000 people could actually be the majority, entirely possible. So again, we need to know the totals. We need to know all of the context. And when you're looking at alternate possibilities and alternate explanations, that's the kind of thing they're going to be bringing up to point out, because it's the stuff that they're not talking about. And that's a big theme on the LSAT overall. What are the things they're not telling us about, the things that are kind of hidden? So even in a logic game, if we're talking about positive variables, what about the negative variables? What's happening with them? You always want to be thinking of all the parties, all the people, all the variables that are in the picture overall, not just the ones that are being explicitly mentioned. Then we have another example here with CD sales. If the CD sales are increasing from 1 million to 5 million, doesn't mean that their percentage of sales overall out of all CD sales has increased overall. Although that's a 5x increase, maybe other CD sales are increasing even more. Again, about the totals. This is just another example of the same thing. And then same goes for a drop in sales of CDs. If the sales are cut in half, they could still have the majority. Even if they're dropping, even if they've decreased and lowered, maybe they still have a large percentage of sales, and maybe other CDs sales dropped even more. So everything depends on the total picture that we're looking at, all groups, all variables. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.